Hi, and welcome to this module on alliances, networks, and cooperative strategies. Now, not to confuse this with corporate strategies, cooperative strategies are in where we look at alliances and where we look at partnering with other organizations. So we're going to be looking at chapter 9, and this is half our way through the strategic management process. You can see we're changing as the last module here from strategy formulation into the next module, which we'll look at in terms of strategy implementation. So a very quick recap. At the corporate level, firms use strategy to select and manage their various business units in order to grow the organization, access resources and capabilities they do not possess, diversify, and sometimes divest. So once we understand what resources and capabilities that we have, we'll be able to also understand what we don't have and how we can use partners to acquire them. Strategies at this level include diversification, formal arrangements such as mergers and acquisitions, and less formal or more cooperative strategies such as alliances, joint ventures, and networks we'll be looking at. So mergers and acquisitions are arguably very popular in the technology sector and typically used by large firms, as noted previously, whereas cooperative strategies are increasingly being used by small businesses, often in more primary sectors such as food production. So we're going to look at what is cooperative strategy, what the three types are, and what do we want and why do we want these three types of strategies? So it's defined as a way in which firms work together to achieve a shared objective, hence the cooperative or cooperation. It's a strategy used to create value through cooperation and to establish a favorable position, remembering the more value we can provide to our customers, the more they'll pay for our product. Strategic alliances are a primary example of cooperative strategy, but less formal examples involve clusters or networks. Strategic alliances also involve firms combining some of their resources and capabilities in order to co-develop, sell, and or service goods or services. Now, the example I've given previously in terms of Tesla and their battery powers with Panasonic form part of what we could call a strategic alliance. So in terms of strategic alliances, there are three types. We have joint ventures, we have equity strategic alliances, and we have non-equity strategic alliances. So the easiest way to differentiate the three are for joint ventures, it is two companies that come together, so A and B, come together to form a third company, C. You'll see this often with construction and a number of other people, and you'll even see it around Tasmania. I know Hazel Brothers does it a lot, and there are quite a few here. Equity strategic alliances are when companies put in stuff, equity, in order to form an alliance together to get a job done. So someone can put in 50% of X, someone can put in the same value worth of Y, whether it be a resource, a capability, and they then come together and form an equity strategic alliance and create a product or service. A non-equity, or what we call contractual strategic alliance, is where two or more firms form alliances through contracts. So you'll see this in terms of subcontractors very often. Again, in the building industry, you get builders that then go and subcontract to plasterers and tilers and all these sorts of electricians, things. They are what we would call non-equity strategic alliances. So you can see here figure 1 and the scope of interfirm relationships and how we use the difference of that. And how strategic alliances form a subset as part of this. You can see the contractual arrangements being traditional or non-traditional contracts, as well as some of the equity arrangements here. So some of the reasons for strategic alliances or cooperative strategies look at often managing risk, particularly when uncertain or fast cycle markets, and or particularly when you don't have capabilities. Sharing the cost of large scale capital investments, particularly in injecting entrepreneurial spirit into maturing or slow cycle businesses where these types of organizations can learn new techniques or undergo process transformation, gain access to resources, as well as gain access to new markets. So you can see here some of the reasons for strategic alliances by market type, i.e. slow, fast, or standard. And there are a number of different reasons why organizations form strategic alliances, mostly each to their own, and no one will be the same. So an example of one that has formed in Tasmania in particular is this Costa Group. So an example of one that has formed in Australia is a company called Costa Group. So Costa Group started in Geelong in Melbourne as a fruit and veg shop and is now a public company of an international scale. You can see the quote there that talks about Costa manages and operates multiple farms and horticultural properties throughout the country, grow an extensive range of produce. Through its supply chain, Costa now develops Costa manages and operates multiple farms and horticultural properties throughout the country, growing an extensive range of produce. Through its supply chain, Costa now delivers fresh produce throughout Australia. So through this, they've been able to develop partnerships and alliances that have been really critical to its firm's growth. And the types of alliances that it's been able to supply, some of the types of alliances it's been able to form include with growers as well as with distribution channels. So we believe that by partnering with expert growing alliances, we remain at the forefront of varietal development, particularly when varieties can be spread across the year, and growing technology to continue to be able to be the best in our field. This allows all of their fruit and veg products to be harvested and grown year round so that Australia has a constant supply of a wide range or a wide array of fruit and veg. So in Australia, Costa and Driscoll's, which is quite a large berry produce, has joined. So in Australia, Costa and Driscoll's have formed a joint venture to look. So in Australia, Costa and Driscoll's, who are Australia's quite large berry farmers and berry growers, have formed a joint venture marketing agreement. So Costa grows berries around Australia, and there are farms that are in Tasmania, and markets these under a license agreement with Driscoll's, which is a private. No. So in Australia, Costa and Driscoll's, who is a Californian-based company, have created a joint venture marketing agreement. So Costa grows berries around Australia, including a number of farms in Tasmania. I know there's at least one in Orielton, as well as a couple in Fawcett, and markets these under a license agreement with Driscoll's, which is, as I said, a private company based in California. Through this arrangement, Costa can provide customers with a year-round supply of raspberries and blueberries because their off-season is our on-season. And through this valued partnership with Driscoll's, you can see they invest in ongoing research and development to improve farming practice using technology, particularly from the US, and as well as the quality of their produce. Both firms obviously share a similar emphasis on quality innovation, which has led to quite a successful joint venture.